Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carruth Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2007 romantic comedy drama titled In the Land of Women. Now, In the Land of Women runs for 1 hour and 38 minutes long. It is directed by John Kasdan. It was also written by John Kasdan. Of course, John Kasdan is the son of Lawrence Kasdan, who has directed tons of movies in the 80s and 90s, maybe even the 70s as well. It is produced by Steve Golan, David Cantor, and Barbara Kelly. The score was done by Stephen Trask, the cinematography by Paul Cameron, and the editing by Carol Littleton and Marty Levinstein. And the stars of the movie are Adam Brody, Kristen Stewart, Meg Ryan, Mackenzie Vega, Olympia Dukakis, JoBeth Williams, Elena Anaya, Clark Gregg, Ginnifer Goodwin, Graham Wardle, and Dustin Milligan. So with an impressive talent pool of female performers like veterans Meg Ryan, JoBeth Williams, Olympia Dukakis, and a much younger talented performer like Kristen Stewart, this is the land of women anyone could easily warm up to. But sadly, in the land of women, director-writer John Kasdan's honest approach about a struggling writer who departs Los Angeles to tend to his ailing grandmother in Michigan failed to give his cast, led by the underrated Adam Brody from the OC, a chance to fully envelop their acting chops. I mean, these performers do have the gift of the gap. I mean, no question about it. I mean, they've been in the acting profession for quite a long time. And even the young up-and-comer guys at the time, like Adam Brody and Kristen Stewart and Mackenzie Vega, they also had displayed a lot of great acting in this movie, but they just were not given enough material to fully showcase their tremendous talent on the screen. Okay, the movie commences as softcore porn movie star Carter Webb, played by Adam Brody, is in the process of getting dumped by his model girlfriend Sophia, played by Elena Anaya. Carter is a harried writer who just can't seem to recover from his breakup, so he decides to get away from Los Angeles for a little bit to spend some time with his ailing grandmother who lives in Michigan. And I guess it's just a place where he could just find some solitude, some place to be alone for a while. I mean, I'm sure he's not here to visit his grandmother as in by ways of a vacation, more like for the sake of a renewal. Until he could get back on track, until he could sort of rectify from his doldrums to bring his spirits back. Of course, staying at his grandmother is anything but a vacation. It seems even more like an initiative. She's kind of a quirky, sort of borderline senile, somewhat cynical individual who has this fear that she's going to die. Even though the physician's saying that she's fit as a fiddle and that she isn't going to die, that's still not going to change her mind or her perspectives about herself. And staying at his grandmother's house, like I said, is anything but a vacation, but more like a renewal. All right. So, what can I say about Olympia Dukakis? She's definitely in a role that doesn't have much to challenge her, while it gives it the much needed time to work on that novel he so wishes to finish. Fortuitously, across the street from his grandmother's house lived the Hardwick family, who are in the need of some well needed healing for an aspiring writer like himself. But it's not just him that needs the healing, but I think the entire Hardwick clan seem to be in desperate need of some healing. Maybe not psychiatric healing, but just the act of being a good listener. And Carter, by God, he is a damn good listener. I mean, the Hardwick family may live in a nice little suburban area just across the street from his grandmother's, but their lives are not really all that well oiled. I mean, we have a lot of disconnection within the Hardwick family. First of all, we have the mother, Sarah, played by Meg Ryan, who got lost in the shuffle since 1997. She is, of course, dying from breast cancer. But aside from that, she also seems somewhat distant from her adolescent daughter, Lucy, played by Kristen Stewart, and just can't seem to keep up with the trendiness from her precocious younger daughter, Paige, played by Mackenzie Vega. She is joined by her disconnected daughter, Lucy, played by Kristen Stewart, who looks really abnormally slender in this movie, who's in a crossroads situation of whether or not she should kiss the high school jock named Gabe, played by Graham Wardle, or the mere meek and humble Eric, played by Dustin Milligan. And then, of course, there's the younger daughter, Paige, played by Mackenzie Vega, who is just another fine line of the typical Hollywood castings to play a smarter, beyond their age preteen kid. Because Hollywood loves precocious 11-year-olds who could read at a college level. So, she seems somewhat disjointed by her family. She can't seem to be on pretty much good terms with her daughter, Lucy, because everything she ever does is wrong anyway. And Paige is just beyond intelligent for her to sort of keep up with her needs and wants. And plus the fact that aside from her suffering from breast cancer, her husband is also allegedly uh, been having secret affairs. So this is one real dysfunctional family that could easily be seeking psychiatric help. But who needs psychiatric help when Carter is there to lend a hand, to lend an ear, and maybe even a passionate kiss? You don't really see much of them doing very much. I mean, most of the time you see Sarah spending a lot of her time walking her dog. A lot of times you see Lucy just, sort of gallivanting and secretly smoking behind her mother's back. And Paige, basically all she seems to do is yoga and reading about quantum physics, while at the same time she's kind of like alienated by the disease that's manifesting Sarah. So even though they seem to appear in this movie a lot of times, they really don't have much to do because there's really very little to nothing that really ever happens in between scenes. I mean, it could be almost like a stage play in some sense because there's really a lot of dialogue, but there's really not a lot of action. Even the party scene seems somewhat very quick, and nothing really that remarkable happens there too. But I'll give some credit where some credit is due. I'll have to give kudos for Adam Brody for keeping Carter playing a solid role as a preoccupied individual, but his part as the protagonist really lacks anything you could truly feel sympathetic about. Ever since the opening scene with the breakup, we never see any kind of emotion from Brody except looking drab and miserable the whole time through. Maybe Sophia was in the right for dumping this sourpuss to begin with. I mean, maybe she just wants to look for somebody who has a little more happiness within him. But, you know, I mean, when you think about her dumping him, you kind of feel bad for Carter, sure. But maybe this Sophia character may have did the right thing. I mean, yeah, okay, I know the guy is probably not making a lot of money writing scripts for softcore porn. I mean, you want the real big bucks, work for Warner Brothers or Paramount. If you're some doohickey softcore porn writer, you're really not going to get very much out of it. And just like Stewart, Adam Brody, he looks like he's also quite gaunt in appearance as well. Could it be that John Kasdan likes his teenage characters to be frail and skinny? I mean, give Kristen Stewart a sandwich while you're at it. Looks like Adam Brody could use a few meals here and there because they just look so thin. Meg Ryan as Sarah shows that she's truly not a has-been, as she actually puts in a wonderful performance as Sarah. I think she actually turns in the best performance, and maybe that might not be fair on my account to say that because of the fact that she's been in the acting profession a lot longer than most of the performers here. However, we don't get to see her that much, which makes her role inferior to her glory days, making romantic comedies with the likes of Billy Crystal and Tom Hanks. Like when you think of movies like When Harry Met Sally or Sleepless in Seattle or You've Got Mail, this was actually Meg Ryan at her finest. And she does put in a good performance here, but it's not as explosive as those movies that I had just aforementioned. And as for Stewart playing the role, which was in a role that was probably more customized for Evan Rachel Wood, she still stands out as a spoiled teen who also seems to have aspirations for painting. Yes, another fine cliche of morbid, depressed individuals who seem to think that painting is their escape from their depression. If you've seen it once, you've seen it all. You've seen it in She's All That. You've seen it in lots of other stuff. It's just a typical line of the stereotypical depressed, aspiring painter. So we watch as she slaps those brushes like Jackson Pollock on a canvas, and after a quick montage, she created a provocative masterpiece. But her problems aren't really as problematic as the movie makes it out to be. I mean, it's quite obvious. She should dump that jock of a boyfriend named Gabe, since he likes to push people around and he's rude and he's obnoxious and he's homophobic. And then, of course, you have the meek and humble Eric, who seems to come across as being sort of socially awkward. But, he's like a friend of Gabe's. But, in the end, it turns out that it's quite obvious. And of course, we have, of course, the stereotypes where the humble and meek are the nice guys and the jocks are the big, pompous, arrogant jerks who ride fancy cars and can pick up the best chicks on the school campus. We've seen them all. It's been done a million times before and after this movie, and it will just continue on and on and on till the genre just practically runs out of ideas. But they'll probably find more new twists and turns even after I finish my YouTube upload. I'm just saying. So we have under the direction of Jonathan Kasdan from his Freaks and Geeks days, definitely has no problems when it comes to creating eccentric and quirky characters. But in the land of women, why are all the high school characters very superficial? Like I said, these characters in this movie are all built on cliche. There are plenty of tremendous storylines to carry with them: the breast cancer, the affair, the breakup. But then the film teeters off to the more mundane after school special teen dramas. I mean, the house party scene was quite painful to endure. It was like an after school special. The stuff that we would come home to after school that we would see on ABC or NBC or CBS. CBS. Get it? CBS. Yeah, I've seen too much in my time. But I digress. Plus, the relationships are really poorly structured in this movie. It's really awkward when it comes down to it. I mean, it's quite obvious that Sarah definitely seems to be somewhat attracted to this Carter. But it just feels awkward because of the age differences. Sarah is way too old for Carter. Sorry, Meg. Even all that plastic surgery, you're still in your late 40s. Well, at the time when this movie came out, she was in her late 40s, and Carter is obviously 26 years old, as described in the movie. So, the age group is just awkward. He looks like he could pass off for being her older son or something like that. And plus, she's still married, so that makes things even more awkward. And while Carter is definitely much older than Lucy, I mean, they even reveal their age. He's 26, she's 17. She's still relatively a child. But at least I'll say one thing, and I will give some credit where credit is due. I was just relieved that there was nothing serious about the relationship except for the angst relieving kiss scene. But why did it take place on the lawn? I mean, I know it was just a little passionate kiss, but couldn't they get a room? I mean, I'm sure Mother Sarah will not intrude. But of course, I guess if she did intrude, he would be in deep shit. I'm just saying. Learning a bit from his father, Lawrence Kasdan's legacy, John does give his film the right tone, but it's still much inferior to his father's movie Big Chill. John takes great conceit into this film, making it lacking in terms of emotion. So, in spite of the contrivances the movie possesses, there is definitely a vast amount of sincerity, which is always great, and there are insightful moments in the movie. But in the end, very little amounts to the characters, making this movie alone feels at times very, very empty. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about John Kasdan. I'm sure he's a very, very capable actor and a director. Yeah, he's done some acting too. But I'm sure there is still a lot for him to learn upon. He's a great, capable director, and I'm sure he's a great writer too. And I hope that in 2018, with the new Han Solo project coming out, we will see where his career takes off after that. Only time will tell. You're still relatively young in the profession, and maybe even much younger back then. But let's see what happens when the new Han Solo project comes out. I hope that you do us proud, you do your father proud, you do Hollywood proud, and we'll just go from there, I guess. So with all that said and done, if I was to give a scale out of 10 for the movie and the Land of Women, I will have to give it a 6.5 out of 10. So there is some good acting. They all seem to be in fine shape. Great performances all around. The direction was solid too. But the story still could have used some work to convey more emotion, more drama, and give the performers more to do to spark our interests more. And I think that's really what's needed to be done to make this movie better. That's what could have been done. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. Just remember, be kind, be courteous, and don't be rude. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Correct Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.